G'day friends and welcome back to Aussie Moto and Outdoors. I'm Cam and I'm your host for today's fill of motorcycle enjoyment. A question for you: do you preference comfort over safety? Is it a fine line? And what side of that line do you like to tread? And do you step from one side to the other side depending on the situation? Today I'm reviewing my Alpine Stars SP8-V3 gloves and we're going to talk about comfort versus safety. Let's get cracking.
Aussie, Moto and Outdoors.
So I got up this morning excited to go for a ride. I got the kids off to school and the wife off to work, and then I started kitting up for a nice trip on the R3. Now my last few rides I've been trying out and wearing in my Alpine Stars gloves. I've had these for a couple of months but never really worn them due to them being too hot and a tiny bit tight on my hands. Now my normal gloves are incredibly cool. They allow great movement, they're comfortable, and they have no issues with phone use. However, I've seen enough crash videos to know that some of the most comfortable and cool gloves on the market tend to fall off milliseconds into a crash, or they disintegrate within seconds of a slide. So just like every other bit of motorcycle gear and clothing out there, we ride a fine line between comfort and protection. Now for me, protection is primary, with comfort secondary. However, there's much to be said about how comfort influences your riding capabilities. Restrictive and uncomfortable clothing can decrease your dexterity, reduce your fine motor skills, which makes you ride worse and reduces your reaction time. So comfort isn't just being a princess, it really can contribute to safety. So that segues nicely into why I've rarely worn these gloves. Number one, they're really hot. Now I'm in tropical North Queensland, Australia. Needless to say, it's bloody hot at times. And number two, they're a little more restrictive than my usual RS5s. However, being a full gauntlet style glove with overt armour, webbed pinky and several layers of full grain quality goat leather, I've always assumed they would be a safer glove in the event of a crash. So as a matter of how practical are these gloves to wear, I left the GoPro running as I fueled up the bike. Now as you can see, opening the fuel tank, taking my sunnies off, being able to fuel up the bike, and even going inside, being able to get my wallet out of my jeans, being able to get my key card out of my wallet, these gloves got a big tick in all of those areas. I was able to do this task flawlessly without issue. Just a quick note on disclosure, I bought these gloves. I'm not being paid, asked or encouraged to present this review in any particular way. I'm just a motorcyclist reviewing something so other motorcyclists can make an informed decision on what they want to buy. Okay, so as I said, these are an Alpine Stars SP8-V3. I assume V3 is an evolution from the V1s and V2s perhaps. These are a full gauntlet style glove. They retail for about $150 here in Australia. They carry a very reputable brand name, being Alpine Stars, and hence may often be purchased on name alone. So firstly, looks. I reckon they look great. They look the goods. A nice compromise between looking good and safe but not monstrous and bulky, so well done there. Here's what Alpine Stars have to say about them straight from their website. A universal riding glove bristling with racing DNA, the SP8-V3 leather glove is constructed from highly abrasion resistant full grain goat leather and synthetic leather material. Oh, that's a mouthful. Look, go to the website and check this all out. I'm just going to tell you how they look and feel, and you can get all the stats from them. So comfort, I think they're a bit tight. I'm usually in the upper end of large size gloves, teetering on needing an extra large. I usually go with the large though, as I don't like loose fitting motorcycle gear. I want stuff to stay on. I worry that the extra large would be a bit too large, so I figured if I wear these in a bit, they might stretch or soften. So they're reasonably true to size if you go by their sizing chart online, maybe a tiny smidgy smaller than listed. They did take some getting used to regards fine motor skills like throttle control. I found a few times I had to be a little more overt backing off the throttle to change gears, or I wasn't returning the throttle to zero. This is more likely just practice needed rather than a fault with the glove. I rode for 80 kilometers today, and at the start I was worried they might become quite uncomfortable, but it was the opposite. The longer I rode, the better these gloves felt. Pleasantly surprised by that. Now you might see from a couple of these clips there's absolutely no issues whatsoever operating the clutch. Now these gloves are slightly bulkier than my usual gloves and a tiny bit tighter, but that made no difference. Same with the turn signals, no issues at all. The GoPro buttons were easily activated. The power on off took a bit of getting used to, however the record button was no dramas straight from the get-go. Raising and lowering my visor is fine, even scratching my nose was easily done whilst riding. Using the phone was a bit of an issue. Perhaps I need some practice, but it was a bit of a pain trying to type. Now normally I'm not texting or trying to type whilst wearing gloves, but these gloves are much tighter than my RS5s, so I can't just slip them off to send a message. I kinda wanted them a little bit better on the touchscreen, but we'll see how they go over time. Now being able to operate my phone is really not a deal breaker. That kind of comes back to the point of this video. Safety is more important than convenience. So the extra few seconds it takes me to remove one of my gloves to be able to type a reply when I'm off the bike briefly is not a deal breaker for me, but worth mentioning for potential buyers. So my conclusion, hopefully you can see why I mentioned comfort versus safety at the start of this vid. These gloves seem like they're going to be very safe, they're going to stay on. They're decent enough leather, reinforced where they need to be, armoured well, nicely adjustable, and they're absolutely not going to come off under any circumstances. For all that though, you're going to compromise a little bit on the comfort. Not so much that you won't want to wear them, and it's compromise I think that's easily justified. I'll be wearing these gloves much more often now, and hopefully as the leather ages, they will become even nicer on the hand. So that's all for today. Thanks once again so much for watching. Now put that phone down or switch it off. Get outside and get some sun. Take care everyone.